The Lord bless everyone and God be with you today. And I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of the African Leadership Group Nigerian Leadership Series. We are going to be going on, we are already on air now, and I'm thankful for all those who have joined. Can I please ask everyone who is not speaking at the moment to please mute their microphone so that we can have an uninterrupted schedule today. Today promises to be very, very interesting. We're speaking to us or chatting with us today, a lawyer and currently the Secretary General of the Lower Nigeria Congress, the Lower Niger Congress, okay? An aggregation of the self-determination initiatives of the Old Eastern and Midwestern regions of Nigeria. He was also the co-convener of the Movement of New Nigeria, MNN, which birthed the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS. I'll repeat that, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, a joint action platform by which the peoples of Southern and Middle Belt Nigeria are collectively undertaking the task of dismantling the imposed and what they consider the fraudulent and unworkable 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, with a view to extricating themselves from the defunct Nigeria into fresh constitutional protocols in formalities of their choice, ratified by referendums and plebiscites. This is indeed a great and serious task that we need to look at with all seriousness. Our gentleman today has a robust background in the service segment of the upstream sector of the oil industry. So I'm sure he has a little bit of cash in his bank account, okay, to run around with, and staged the People's Sovereign Conference between 2005 and 2006. He was also a lead counsel in the 2007 lawsuit challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution and all sorts of grounds on which that Constitution was challenged, amongst forgery and fraud. Okay, so is somebody who is really passionate about this entity or an entity called Nigeria, to be or not to be, to put together or dismantle, workable or unworkable, and with all sorts of ideas. Okay, and is also concerned about the situation in Nigeria with all the Fulani invaders masquerading as herdsmen. These are his words, I believe, that we are speaking about here. Okay, and he's also made some foreign interactions with different kinds of people, especially in Washington, D.C., to ask them to come and lend a voice to our Nigerian situation. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me tonight Mr. Tony Nnadi. I do expect the conversations to be frank, forthright, and very robust in our attempt at putting Nigeria together again. Let me also remind us all that the African Leadership Group is a group that has been put together to try and forge some kind of political and economic progress, not just in Nigeria, but all over the African continent. We are concerned about the well-being of Africa and Africans. We're concerned that 60 years thereabouts after independence, in Ghana's case, 63 or 64 years, a lot of us are still where we are. And we're concerned as to the foundations, the backgrounds, the formation of the African states, and what we need to do to engender, to bring about good governance. Good governance, that's the primary motive in Africa. And we are speaking to people across the diaspora, across the board, different views, different opinions as to what they think they need to do to make sure that we have really, really outstanding governance in Nigeria. I've been reading the book, the Sheikh CEO on Sheikh Al Maktoum, the leader of Dubai, looking at his thinking, his thoughts, his desire that leaders must make their people happy, his vision, his forthrightness, and his determination to build a great nation. He started Emirates Airlines in 1985, and right now they're about the largest and most efficient airline in the whole world, one of the most popular, and transformed a little desert region into a nerve center of both production and manufacturing and services for the entire world. And it's interesting to see Nigeria where it is. So I'm going to ask Mr. Nnamdi, for the purposes of those who may not know him, to give a little bit introduction of himself, his background, and how he found himself Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress and involved in the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Mr. Nnamdi, you are most welcome. Thank you for accepting to speak here. I do hope that very soon you and I can make personal contact and take the conversations further. My name is Itwa Godalo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Itwa. Welcoming viewers. Let me remind you, Pastor, that you remember in the days of Patito's gang, I've been on set with you twice with Professor Tommy moderating. In those days, they were airing on Ben TV, somewhere in VI, on this same subject matter.
Yeah, correct.
At that time, the conventional wisdom was that we only needed to tweak here and there, good leadership, and some kind of just people behaving better. That was what everybody thought was the way to go. But as far back as that time, we were already, telling our people that we have we are building on a foundation that is damaged. The house of Nigeria was being erected on a foundation that could not carry it because the original foundation had been destroyed. And for 53 years, 54 now, we just refused to go back to working on that foundation. And everything else we see is, emanating from that refusal to go to address, like doctors will do. If we start from symptoms, we remember that in September of 2020, the Vice President, Professor Oshimbajo, had raised an alarm that the walls of Nigeria were cracked, and that if we did not hasten up to find answers to it, that the edifice may come down crashing. And in 2-3 days after he said so, I had cause to be on channel TV telling everybody on the 60th anniversary. That was their flagship program for Nigeria's 60th anniversary. And I was saying that on behalf of these initiatives, that it is the foundation of Nigeria that have been damaged for a long time, but which we continue to construct upon. That is reason for that the cracked walls, and that it has come to where unless something happens to take down the building for reconstruction, it will collapse on everybody and consuming lives that may run in millions. And so all of what you've read out as where we're coming from on it is simply an intervention, a comprehensive framework of intervention to arrest that situation before it becomes human carnage that the global community will have to worry about. Like we remember in August of 2019 that the UN had cause to send their special rapporteur to Nigeria, Agnes Callamard, who had to come to find out why blood was flowing all over Nigeria. Soldiers were killing, policemen were killing, herdsmen were killing, Boko Haram was killing everybody. And after 1 month of investigation she came out with a report that it was Nigeria's constitutional arrangement that was like pressure cooker for injustice. So all the agitations, everything that has gone wrong, from whether it's corruption we're discussing, or lack of electricity, or lack of good leadership, or elections that are always upside down, or whatever it is. I have a copy of the Constitution here with me. I'm going to be able to show us today so that we can know exactly the nature of the ailment we have to treat. Because if we do not diagnose properly, like doctors will do, we've seen the symptoms. Nigeria has become the global capital for poverty. Nigeria is one of the most unsafe places to live in. You know, the business, what do they call ease of doing business index? We are the rock bottom. We are number one in everything bad and the last in everything good. Mortality rates, both for maternal and infant. At every side you look, Nigeria, you know, is coming right from the rear. It is the foundation upon which we're building that is responsible. And if we go away from this program today, knowing exactly what the problem is and the options of solutions that are viable, are readily available right now to apply to it, then we may join in pushing towards that direction of solving the problem, other than pretending we don't have a problem until people begin to die in such great numbers. It has come to where a majority, and as you see in the map, in the map of that, the map in the rear, a majority in that Nigeria are no longer concerned about what will happen to Nigeria. Our concern now is what will happen to the Nigerians that are trapped in that what has become for them some kind of caliphate prison that has them just on the guillotine to be killed. They are not going to wait to die. They are all saying that it's better to escape by any means than waiting to be killed by all kinds of things coming at them. You know, so that's the situation we are in. That our country, the Nigeria that is defined by this constitution that was imposed is no longer our project, and all the institutions, you know, founded on that constitution, including the National Assembly, including the Nigerian Army, including the Nigerian Police. If you want to know what we mean by that, you go to the preamble to that constitution to see that it is alleged in that preamble that we, the people, have solemnly resolved to live in unity as one indivisible country, therefore making and giving unto ourselves the following constitution. That is the claim. Everything, including how Ijoland became part of Nigeria, in which Nigeria is now the owner of the oil and gas assets of Ijoland. How Yoruba land, that could be a country of 60 million people, became part of Nigeria. And therefore, Lagos Port is at the discretionary disposal of Fulani that have been controlling it from the beginning. So in all of that, everywhere you look, even the killing going on in the Middle Belt, is all coming from that constitution in which the arms and ammunition are on exclusive list, and therefore only the federal government can issue arms. None of the governors can issue one rifle to anybody. Meanwhile, there are people coming, people they can identify, who are coming to kill people in their spaces. And the federal government not only is unwilling or unable to deal with the matter, actually in collusion, openly supporting what's going on. And it's come to where you saw the governor in Benue asking people to go to take up arms whatever they find to defend themselves. What kind of country are we building in that? It is no longer, everybody is now looking out for how to defend themselves from people who are known. It cannot be said that nobody in government, at the federal government level, knows where they're coming from. We saw all of how it built up from Boko Haram to herdsmen, and now they call it bandits. But there's one common strand. There's Fulani at the center of it. At the time, we have a Fulani president who was the spokesman of the Boko Haram that became ISWAP upon joining forces with ISIS in 2014. To date, our president remains the grand patron of Miyetti Allah, that have been taking responsibility for the activities and actions, the murderous actions of Fulani herdsmen. Our president, has no other business, he has declared, than rearing of cows. So if he remains the patron or life patron of Mietiala, at the time Mietiala is taking responsibility for the actions of Fulani herdsmen that have been adjudged the third most the dangerous terror group on the face of the earth. And we're here discussing it with nothing coming from government to show that they're even engaging the matter. Rather, we saw where 100 billion naira was taken from the treasury and given to that Mietiala. Where would the money end up other than the hands of people who are going to, the herdsmen themselves, who will be buying more arms to terrorize everybody? We saw where El Rufai told us on national TV how he went to 14 different countries to give them money. The people who are coming to kill your governor in Kaduna. People are coming to kill the people you are supposed to be protecting. All you can do about it is to take money from the poor treasury of Kaduna State to go to give to those people in 14 different countries, and you are proud to come to tell us that that was what you were doing about the killings. And then we see in southern Kaduna all of how those killings have been managed. They say they came from this. He confirmed that they come from outside Nigeria. The federal government itself has told us that those people are coming from outside. They are Fulani, all the same. And now we saw the governor, so that we can see that these things are not happening by accident. We saw the governor of Bauchi State come to national TV again to tell us that Fulani from all over Africa belong to Nigeria. Shortly after, we saw how our borders were thrown open and Fulani poured in from everywhere, even at the time we had the lockdown. And if the Bauchi governor says that they belong here, and our president, who happens to be one of them, throws our border open, compromising our collective sovereignty. Now, in every nook and cranny of Nigeria, you have these people, actually killing people. And when you look at what might be their reason for doing all of what they are doing, they are calling it a bandit now. No, what we have managed to establish is a clear-cut, orchestration of ethnic cleansing. People thought it was of course, they had to call it all kinds of things to deceive the international community. They said it was farmers and herders clashes, but there was no clash anywhere. You were in your community. People turned up there, to kill you. Everywhere you turn, you find a new set of people coming to kill people. And then when you look at it, you see they carry AK-47. When the people who have been attacked begin to organize themselves, immediately somebody comes from government. We're going to now accuse them. We saw it happen 1 million times in southern Kaduna. And so it came to where, upon a closer look, we saw a joint venture between the Fulani that want to establish a homeland for Fulani from all over Africa in Nigeria, and an ISIS that had been pushed out from Middle East that wanted a new operational base in this sub-region and being welcomed by our own federal government. These things I'm saying, I've said in Congress on Capitol Hill, our State Department, when the US was looking frantically for answers. What is it that is happening? Why is it that the Nigerian government is not doing anything at all? And we just showed them what we took to them, what we knew about it, to say there's a holding of hands between this ISIS that has found a local agent called Boko Haram. And when you look back at the fact that at the time Jonathan was being put under pressure, and he offered a meeting that would have held in Saudi Arabia. You remember that Boko Haram nominated somebody that would speak for them. It says Muhammad Buhari. In that same period, Buhari wasn't yet president, but he was always the one to say that an attack on Boko Haram is an attack on the North. Put all of it together. You saw his defense minister, say that, that there were old grazing routes. People have put developments on it. If you don't remove the development, then the cows will find their way. Defense minister, at the time people were being killed. You saw the governor of Benue that went to cry to the president, the commander-in-chief, the only one that controlled all the arms in the land. They are killing my people. What did the president tell him? He said, go home and learn how to live in peace with the Fulani of Benue, whatever that means. And we have seen claims of how Fulani owns everybody and everywhere. That's their claim. Even yesterday, they rolled out something again about conquest. In which war did Fulani conquer the whole of Nigeria? Where did it happen? So whether with any angle you look at it from, you will see an orchestration that these people are clear-minded in what they're doing. They're in control of all the armed services. Look at this map again. You will see that whether you're looking at the army or police or the Air Force or immigration or customs or DSS, all the top command positions, even local commands, the people who actually hold the key to the armory are from this part. They are from the yellow part. And this same part, to tell you the nature of the problem we have now, the union is in dispute, and we have declared that dispute. We'll come to that later. But in year 2000, for a Nigeria that is supposed to be a secular state, that was what we agreed to be. We're supposed to be a federation and a secular state. We are no longer a federation because the federating regions have been broken down, and we've ended up with a 36-state unitary structure. Now, even the matter of being a secular union, we were here when in year 2000, 12 contiguous states simultaneously imposed Sharia, contiguous, simultaneous. And when you saw that the state assemblies acted in passing the law, the governors signed the laws and began to set up the enforcement mechanism that include Hizbah, so that people from other parts of the country had to relocate from those places. And then we looked at it, tried everything we could to show them that what they were doing might bring our union to an abrupt end. They didn't listen. And we interpreted it eventually to mean that they had seceded, as this contiguous belt, they have seceded from the secular union we were trying to build. At that time, the constitution that was brought back in 1999, that was first made in 1979, which was for us the charter of victory from the war of 1967 to 1970. For those who the older of our audience, they will remember that it was Murtala Mohammed that commissioned what became 1979 Constitution. Immediately he overthrew Gowon. That was the first task he gave up to Rotimi Williams, who then brought the teacher with the lecturer from University of Lagos, Ben Nwabeze, Professor Ben Nwabeze, a young teacher. They wrote a draft according to the instruction of Murtala Mohammed for what will become the basis of constitution. It was that draft that was given to the Constituent Assembly of 1977. The Constituent Assembly walked all through many of the recommendations, many of what was contained in that draft were not accepted by the Constituent Assembly. They came up with a clean draft of what will become constitution, submitted to Obasanjo. Of course, Murtala Mohammed had been, assassinated in 1976, but that draft passed on to Obasanjo that took his place, and then it became the working material for that Constituent Assembly, which submitted a clean copy of what they had done. The Constituent Assembly did not accept the retention of the states that were created to destroy the regions. The states were actually created for the purpose of making sure that the regions were weakened. All their assets were taken over by the federal government. That's how we came to this unitarism we're still struggling with to date. So those states were not created for taking us any forward. It was for the purpose of hijacking the federation by that central government. And progressively, where did we end? Obasanjo, to tell us the kind of the origin, where these problems are flowing from. On the 21st of September in 1978, Obasanjo went on national broadcast to announce 17 amendments to the finished work of the Constituent Assembly. It was what the Supreme Military Council of the time had done that became the Constitution of 1979. Of course, we have seen in the one of 99 that they merely carried it forward, added the states that created the in-between. So everything we needed to have in order to get to where a country of our size, a country of our diversity should be going, we are doing the opposite. Look at where we have ended up. For a country that sells close to 3 million barrels of crude oil every day, we have become the poverty capital of the world. For a country that has the kind of human, material and endowments that Nigeria has, we are excelling all over the world, except in our country. For a country of 200 million people, we're still discussing 3,000 and 5,000 megawatts of electricity. Only last week, I actually saw somebody speaking on behalf of government boasting how they are now going to 5,000 megawatts. For 200 million people, with all the potentials we have, why is it so? Because electricity generation and transmission is on that exclusive list. The refineries that are not working, the petrol you have to pay more for every day. What's the reason? Because refining, oil and gas refining is on that exclusive list. There's nothing anybody is going to be able to do to solve that problem except that constitution goes down. The insecurity we have, because arms and ammunition are on that exclusive list, the governors can't access even one rifle. Even the vigilantes they are setting up. The police that is now controlled by one small community in one corner of Nigeria is the one that will arrange for how you get your gun. If they don't like the gun in your hand, you can't have anything to organize your own security. Yet you have to make laws. How are you going to enforce those laws? So in all of this, anything that is the problem, anything anybody can, and if the listeners and viewers should please feel free to raise their questions. Anything that has become a big problem in Nigeria, I will show you the section of the constitution that is responsible for it, which if that constitution does not go down, that problem will not go away, no matter what you do. Corruption is created and reinforced and protected by that constitution. Therefore, we are not dealing with a situation where officials are corrupt. Corruption is official under our constitution. Why do I say so? We have the governance that is supposed to be for the welfare of the citizen. We have in section 6, subsection 6C, a provision that practically absolves government of responsibilities towards citizens. I want people to confront the lawyers in the land with these things, these specifics. Section 6, subsection 6C, nullifies the whole of chapter 2. Chapter 2 of the Constitution is where all the benefits accruable to the citizen is written in the social contract that Constitution is supposed to be. Now, that means the government does for you only what it wants to do for you. You go from there to the appropriation provisions. Section 81 says the president has to go to National Assembly to obtain permission to spend money. Section 82 says that while they are debating in the National Assembly, he's at liberty to run government, spending all the money, subject to 50% of what was approved the year before, not what was spent. And so it becomes, a blank check in the hands of the heads of the executive branch, the president and the 36 governors, to take all the money in the treasury. That's what we've been living with. You now come to section 308 that give them blanket immunity. So if they do not owe the citizen any obligation and they have the spare key to the treasury and you cannot question them while they're in office, you must be a criminal to say you are fighting corruption with such a constitution. Anybody who comes to say he wants to fight corruption under that constitution, because we've been shouting about these matters since the first 3 weeks. This constitution was introduced in 1999. We've gone to court to say, let us do it differently so that this house will not collapse on all of us. Look at the number of people that are dying every day. All the wars going on around the world do not produce even half the number of casualties that are emanating from Nigeria, simply because we have chosen to build on a foundation that cannot carry anything other than, that cannot produce anything other than what we are seeing. There's no solution to the problem outside taking down that constitution and getting those who are trapped here, because the problem with everybody thinks, oh, let's go and write another constitution. I even see people in National Assembly saying they're doing an amendment, they're writing another constitution. Our sovereignty is with us. National Assembly, let it be heard loud and clear across the land, because it will soon become a problem for which people are going to be chasing other people to their father's house. All of those in Abuja, pretending that they have become the owners of our sovereignty. Only,
blessed Master, fill all your wondrous power. Fill me with your wondrous power. Let it flow through.
Can we have the mic muted? My brother Tony, let me just slow you down a little bit. Please, let's mute the mic. Somebody is praying on the other side.
Even as we go to our different communities, we go into our vocation.
Mute the mic now.
Channels of blessings.
Yeah, sorry. I think somebody is praying as he's going to his various communities.
I see. Yeah,
Sorry. So, my brother Tony, I've heard you loud and clear, and I really can feel your pain and your passion. Okay, two things I want to bring to your notice. It was Agu Ironsi in 1966 or so that promulgated the decree that made us a unitary state. I want you to remember that. And it was
no, that's not correct.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish now.
Yes.
As far as I know, it was Agu Ironsi that promulgated that unitary decree. Okay.
Yes.
And then when Yakubu Gowon became head of state, he further went on to divide us into 12 states. And according to something I heard earlier on today, repudiated this issue of the Aburi Accord that Ojukwu seemed to have negotiated to take us back to some kind of federalism, and Yakubu Gowon came against it. Those are two things that I have as historic facts, okay? I think I'm old enough to know about that unitary decree. Then finally, we have heard that the Constitution is alien to our federalism, as we said, 1979 Constitution becoming 1999 Constitution, and so on and so forth. I want practical, something very, very practical that we can do to, as you have described, pull down that Constitution. How can we do it? Because the people in your various houses of legislation today, both the Senate and the House of Reps, they are benefiting somehow from this Constitution. The people in your executive arm, they are benefiting from this Constitution. After you finish answering this question, I'm going to play you something, a video that I'll also want you to speak to, or two sets of videos I want you to speak to. The governors themselves are benefiting from this Constitution. If anything at all, they are riding escort cars and all sorts of things around, that if you say to any of them today, let us go back to the regions, let us bring the people together, or let's even go to the zones and so on, they will all refuse, because they're used to being called excellency here and there. So nobody's really thinking beyond themselves and for the larger good of Nigeria, Even your tribal warlords, as the German, do you want to go back to Western Nigeria? He probably will say no. He is happy with Delta State or happy with whatever. As the man in Zamfara, do you want to go back to Northern region? You say no, he's happy with Zamfara State. He can get a couple of contracts from his governor and so on and so forth. So nobody is looking at the large picture. Nobody is educating Nigerians really as to the benefits of federalism and how it will benefit them individually. The same way the boy who is selling mineral water on the bridge running up and down does not know that the reason why he's there is because some governor has taken the money that should give him free education and bought a house in Dubai. So I want very, very practical solution to this situation. We all know what the problems are. What can we do starting now to begin to rebuild Nigeria? Okay, one of my theories was that Nigeria was even designed to fail in the first place by the colonial masters that so designed Nigeria, albeit Africa. So I want a clear line of sight, first of all, to this unitary thing that was done, as far as I'm concerned, by Ironsi. And secondly, we all know constitution. What do we do practically to change this constitution? Thank you.
Thank you. I begin with the first one as to how we arrived at unitarism. You recall that the coup of January 15, 1966, the people that mounted that attack did not get to government house, Nzogu and his confederates. It turned out that the most senior officer had to take charge and try to stabilize a country that the federal government had been decapitated and two regional governments, Now, what Ironsi did by decree number 34, the one they call unification decree, was merely to set up some kind of administration and seeing what had happened between 1962 and 1966 that became the coup. It was the regions competing in some way that broke down everything. Therefore, the task for stabilization was in bringing about, since soldiers are stepped in, it must be something in which what the soldiers have, which is some hierarchy and some better order than what politicians will have. Well, that was the purpose, a temporary arrangement to stabilize things before we proceed. Ironsi did not touch these 4 regions. That was why there were 4 governors appointed over the regions. The assets of the regions remained their assets. It was just a temporary arrangement of how to provide any kind of governance. You remember the prime minister was dead, the premier of northern region was dead, premier of western region was dead. The one of the east, it turned out that the president of Malta was visiting on the day of the coup. The plotters didn't know that the foreign president would be in the company of Emma Opara. So the people that went to deal with that part found themselves in that situation. Check out whether Macarius, the president of Malta, check out whether he was not in Enugu on the day of the coup. That was what happened in Enugu. The one of what else? All these falsehoods were building upon. We know the truth, but we choose to. The author of Nebe, the people who were staging the coup, had counted on the armory in Abeokuta as where they will take the weapons with which they will, deal with the Lagos end of the matter. The Colonel Ato Nebe, who was the commander of that unit where those arms were, refused to release the keys to the armory, and they killed him. Yet it was an Igbo. Ojukwu in Kano was the one who was ready to be taken on by Nzogba and his people from Kaduna. At the end of the day, the coup, it was Ojukwu that frustrated the coup. Ironsi became head only because he was the most senior. And the regions remained the regions, the 4 regions with their governors, with their assets. It was only on the eve of the declaration of why the killings the pogroms had carried on, and it came to where Ojukwu was compelled. And I use the word compelled because that was what his colleagues, who were, including Achuzie, those who were his mates in the army, said, look, you seem to want to preserve this unworkable union by all means. If you don't draw a line, these people are going to chase us into this space. It was practically under gunpoint that he had to agree with them after trying out all kinds of things for how to stabilize the situation. Now, it was because that decision had been taken that the Eastern region will pull away from the Union, that on the 27th of May, 1967, the federal government, guided by Britain, and the reports from Williams Commission, all of those people who wanted one thing or the other from the regions of the time, because they were supposed to have been given their autonomy, like Midwestern state got the autonomy from a Western region of the time. On the 27th of May in 1967, Gowon then announced the creation of 12 states that broke the regions fractured the regions. That was the day the Union moved from being a federal state to a unitary state, because the assets of those regions were also progressively taken over by the federal government in the name of finding money to manage the situation as it were. So if we choose this,
I'm sorry for those who are on the platform.
on all of us, because when it does collapse,
okay. Go ahead, please.
Yes, when it does collapse, I think there's something about electricity that hasn't. One moment. You hold this one. So what we're saying is that it has come to where we have progressively built on that falsehood, false narratives everywhere, and this is where we've arrived, telling ourselves lies and knowing that those things are lies, including the preamble to our constitution. And so, what do? We have now to accept that unitarism will not work for a country of Nigeria's diversity. We have to look in the direction of South Africa and what it did with apartheid. And if you want to know why we talk about apartheid, what we have in Nigeria is far worse than apartheid. In the situation where we have a master-servant union imposed on all of us by the Fulani with the aid of the British. I have seen documents that predate 1914. And in the coming days, in fact, in less than 10 days, they will be in the public space because we wanted to keep it to where more people would be willing to understand the weight of it. Otherwise, if those documents were, if those things were released earlier than now, the whole place would collapse on us at the time the people had not been told what was happening to them. But more people are awake now. And so the British set up this union to fail because it was a criminal enterprise. They were clear-minded in what they wanted to do. And they implanted the people who were going to do their bidding to take charge of the union on their behalf. And so all our constitutions from beginning to now have been designed to service the objectives of that joint venture between Britain and the Sokoto Caliphate. If anybody doesn't understand that, I'm afraid that person may have to learn the hard way. Now, there's a preliminary objection. If the only challenge was how to rebuild our country, I tell you, we can get at it in 6 months, we can get done with it. But you know what? That is not the challenge now. We don't have any country. We don't have any union. The agreements that brought us together have been abandoned. The union have been hijacked, first by the federal government, but we later found out that there was the Fulani at the rear. Gowon and co were just tools used to drive it to where they now seized it after imposing a constitution that tied everybody's hands to the back. Now, what do we do with Sharia? Because the adherents of Sharia owe it a duty of faith to kill the infidel. Anybody who, we're talking about a clash of civilizations here. The same people who are doing Sharia are also feudalists. In their worldview, there's only the master and the slave. The democracy you and I seek to build is offensive to them because the master cannot be governed by the servant, by the slave. That was what consumed Abiola. That was what consumed Jonathan's presidency. And they're telling us to our faces that they are born to rule us. When you mix the two up, you will see that if we don't find an answer to the question of Sharia, they owe it a duty of faith to kill the infidel. And the rest of us are those infidels in their eyes. If you do not find an answer to feudalism, where they believe that they are born to rule the rest, between the two, we are constantly in the danger of death. Because as we insist on democracy, they will bring me more measures to make sure we don't speak, to brutalize us to submission. And now the one of Sharia, they owe it a duty to take us out of the way, compel everybody to come with them. If anybody wants to argue about that, that person can go arguing. I will not be, whatever it will take, I will not be in any union that has 1 square inch governed by Sharia. That is the preliminary objection now to going into the question of what do we do to rebuild our country. Unless we accept that this is the case, and we take that constitution that has our signature as the authorization, it says we the people. It means we the Ijo, we the Yoruba, we the Tiv have submitted our and when you read through it, you will see that there was never a meeting between the constituents. And if you want to know how the constitution, you're asking the question of what do we do now?
Yeah, what do we do? Practical things that we can do. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You know, yes, this thing you're saying about Sharia, nothing will happen. No, I want practical steps. That
we can. If
a new constitution.
We're on a construction site. Yes, we're on a construction site.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
We're on a construction site to build.
Yeah.
70 out of 100 people on that construction site are not there to build. They are there to pull down what has been erected. The land is disputed. I am not in that Nigeria defined by this constitution. Anything it will take to take down this constitution, and if you go to that preamble, you will then understand the meaning of taking down this constitution. The union is resting 100% on the strength of this. Forget about those pointing guns at people, thinking that they can use guns to hold 200 million people together. They are deranged in their heads and in their hearts, because the reason people are not pointing guns back at them is because they thought there's a union, there's a government, there's order, there's law. But we have taken on the 16th of December in 2020, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination brought to a culmination a 20-year plan for how we solve this problem by placing a union dispute on the table. And if you listen carefully to the international arena, you will discover that the global powers that have vested interest in Nigeria, the US, the UK, the EU, less than 2 weeks ago, pointed the federal government of Nigeria to that solution package. We have a package that can solve this problem. And in that proclamation of December 16th, there were 5 demands, which have now transformed itself into our own agenda. We wanted the federal government to come to be a part of how it is done. We said, let there be a formal announcement that this union, this constitution is not going to stand, that like South Africa did with apartheid in 1990, that this constitution is the source of our problem and therefore has to be decommissioned. A formal announcement that there will be no further national elections anchored on this constitution, because until you come to that, every day you are planning to go to another election. There's nothing you are going to do to solve this problem. More people will go and buy form to contest election. And before you know it, they say, oh, election is so close. That's what we've been doing since 1999. And so we have put on the table a time-bound framework that can deliver us from this hell we have found ourselves. The government has to acknowledge this dispute, commit itself to taking down this constitution with us, so it's not in anarchy, we can go through transition. Then number 3, that there will be no further elections on it. Number 4, that there will be a 2-stage process by which we work out what will become our constitution. If we are a federation, Nigeria ceased to be a federation at the point the 5 constitutions that defined the union got toppled in 1966. Now, if we want to go back to anything that will work, 2 things have to happen. According to that preamble that we looked at before, we the people having solemnly agreed. So there must be a meeting at which those who can be countries of their own are now saying, well, everything considered, we've been here so long, we want to continue. And it has to be by the regional referendums. No politician is going to take that decision on behalf of anybody in Abuja. It is Yoruba that will commit to wanting to remain in this union by referendum in the first stage. It's only when they have all committed that we come to the question of writing the terms. That writing of terms is a secondary matter. And if you want to know who can do this, it's not the business of government. I will quote section 14.2a of the Constitution, where the universal truth was admitted, as flawed as the Constitution is. It says, sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government, through this Constitution, derives all its powers and authority. I repeat, sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government, through this Constitution, derives all its powers and authority. It was in the pretense that the Ijaw has sat down with the Ogoni and the Tiv and the Yoruba to submit their lands and their assets into Nigeria. That lie was told in that preamble, that we the people. So our signature was put on a document of damnation as the authorization for our own damnation. The 3 million barrels of crude oil Nigeria is selling every day is based on that forged signature. The fact that people can come from Sokoto and Kano and go killing people in Eboma and Aba in the name of Nigeria is on account of that falsehood. And anywhere you look at it, everything we complain about, everything we lament about is coming from that false claim. So we're saying that what has to happen now is that those 2 questions that are right, shall we live together? And if yes, on what terms? Those are the 2 steps that we insist must be taken. In the period intervening, we can go into transition. We have no quarrel with those in government house whatsoever. The president, the governors, all of the governance structures can remain, so we don't go to anarchy. Because if we don't solve this problem, at the rate it's going, people are going to resort to self-help on a scale that will defy, because those who now sit in Abuja pretending that they have become the owners of our sovereignty. That's what they're doing. Lawmakers, let us get this straight. Lawmakers, the legislative mandate of the National Assembly is for lawmaking. It's not for constitution making. The question of how constitutions are made, constitutions require constituent powers to make. And that constituent power exclusively vests in the sovereign components, those who could have been countries of their own, if not for Nigeria. And we have done everything, including writing. In fact, on in the matter of what exactly should we do, quite apart from this December 16th proclamation, on the 16th of November in 2018, this body, this same set of people who have placed this proposition on the table now, had written the President, Muhammadu Buhari, an open memo on the restructuring debate, because he had gone to France to say that those who are talking about restructuring don't seem to know what they want or how to go about it. We wrote him an open memo detailing exactly what restructuring means and exactly step by step how it can be undertaken. That memo, I think Guardian newspaper picked it up on the 18th of November in 2018, published. So we have it, we adopted it in the December 16th, 2020 proclamation to say, Mr. President, in all of what has happened, if we decide to solve this problem today, these are the things we must do. Step one, to acknowledge that this problem is there. To acknowledge that this constitution is the source of the problem and therefore has to be decommissioned. To set up a process in which no further national elections will happen under this constitution, so that we can go and face this problem before our house is brought down.
My brother Tony, a few people want to ask you some questions, but before they do so, let me tell you free of charge that the government of Muhammadu Buhari will not do any of the things that you have suggested.
We do not care. We do not. Our sovereignty.
Let me finish.
Our sovereignty does not lie with him. The owners of the sovereignty are going to take their sovereignty and walk away. That's what.
How are you? Wait. Calm down now.
No, I'm not telling you. What is Buhari in this matter? What is Buhari in this matter?
Wait, he's your head of state and he's the one who gives executive orders.
That is not in question.
Wait.
That is not in question.
And you are also suggesting that his government should remain. You want his government to remain in all these things that we're in? How are you going to get him to do what you want? Or how are you going to get Nigerians to do what you want? Just hold on, don't answer, because a few other people will ask questions. And I just want you to answer those questions one by one so that you can take in as many questions and comments as possible. So the question is, how are you or your group going to either get Muhammadu Buhari to do these things that you are suggesting? And if he fails to do so, what is, according to Pastor Paul, your plan B? What are you planning to do in terms of motivating and encouraging the Ijaw man, the Yoruba man, the Igbo man, the Middle Belter, and whoever is so interested, even some of the Northerners who are interested, to now decide on how they are going to sit around the table and write a new constitution? How are you going to do it is what I want to know. Because you can talk until you are blue about constitution. You either are able to start a movement that you can get every Nigerian to galvanize. We all come to a village square and we start to debate the constitution and we write a new constitution and we walk to Aso Rock and barricade the place and say until they take this constitution and prepare it, nobody is leaving that rock. Or you go to the owners of Aso Rock and tell them, this is the new constitution we're thinking about. Please find a way to implement it. I want to know practically how you are going to do this thing apart from just conversation. That's number one. Number two, I think when Mimo Okupe wants to say something, I'm going to ask him to speak. Then Donald wants to say something. I'm going to ask him to speak. And then I'm going to ask Dr. Ayo Adenuga, whose hands has been up for a little while to say something. There are a few other people whose hands are up, but let these three people, as myself, go forward. Please note their comments or their questions, and then let's speak specifically to these things. Because what I want on this platform are solutions. You know, we know all the problems of Nigeria. We know the constitution is weak. How can we change this thing practically as we are right now? Okay, so please, Wemimo, please say something very quickly, 30 seconds, go straight to the point of what you want to say. Donald, the same thing, and Dr. Ayo Adenuga, the same thing, so that we can catch in as many comments and questions as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Itwa, and thank you, Tony. Let me go straight to to my question. My question concerns what the barrister Afe Babalola is trying to put together. He's trying to put together a constitutional conference, according to him, because the VP said that most elites are not responding to the crisis. So his own response is to spend his money to organize a national conference so that there will be, the anarchy will be, there won't be chaos in Nigeria. I'd like to know what Tony thinks about that and what is your reaction to it. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Right.
Thank you, Wemimo. That's very good. Straight to the point. Can I please ask Donald to ask his own question very quickly? Tony, please note those questions so that you can respond to all of them.
Right.
Donald, quick, straight to the point, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Donald. Straight to the point.
Okay. Tony had taken his time to give specific situations about what is happening in the country, and he came up with different solutions. And Pastor Itwa, one of the questions you asked him, and I also was going through the questions asked by the guest here through chat, was that how does Tony want that to be achieved? How is he going to convince the Yorubas, the Middle Belt, the Igbos, and the Southerners that this is the way forward? And you also said he wasn't the owner of Aso Rock. What I just wanted to point out quickly is that the owners of Aso Rock are not the owners of Nigeria. They are employers of Nigerians. They are not
employees.
They are the employee. They are not the owners of Nigeria. And so if we all gathered here understand that we all have a problem, we understand that the 1999 Constitution is a problem, we understand that we are in a point and we are all in danger because we have all recognized this. That is why this has become a national discussion. It is left out for us, like what Tony's organization has done, has activated what they said, activating the people's power. It is when the people speak as one. It is when the people recognize the problems they have at hand. It is when the people recognize a solution that has been profiled and they speak as one. When they speak as one, the owners of Aso Rock will realize that they are not the owners of Nigeria. They were only employed by Nigerians. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. They're not even the owners of Aso Rock. They're just the temporary residents there.
Thank you very much.
And they should never forget that. And they are
much.
living there without paying rent. So we're going to...
And we are also paying them because we employed them. So
we're paying them to live free. All right. So don't worry about them.
Somebody actually said, oh, Tony did not answer him that question when he asked him. And the question was asked.
Well, Tony will. Don't worry. I'm going to get Tony to answer. That's what I want him to answer.
That is why we
Can I please ask Dr. Ayo Adenuga to unmute himself and speak? Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor. Yeah, my first question is, Mr. Tony, while you were making your presentation, you said that the Constitution of Nigeria is actually the bedrock of corruption. So I want to ask, what section of the Constitution is responsible for outrageous cost of governance? That is one. Then the second question is, taking my reference from the Catalonia referendum, we say that the Catalonia referendum led to the rejection of independence. what is NINA doing? Because we know right now in Nigeria, we have the political party already trying to beef up their race for 2023. So, and NINAS cannot just do a thing. It has to, the people, NINAS wants to represent the people. How much of awareness is being created on the part of NINAS? Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, Tony. Can you please quickly speak to those questions?
Right.
Pastor Ishua, can I make a comment, please, before Tony answers? The Kaduna State Governor twice had all the opportunity to answer questions. Would you please give Tony plenty of time? He's a fundamentalist and so on. So give Tony time.
Let's not go into that. I won't accept that from you. I'm sorry. I won't accept that. Let's not go there. So, Tony, please respond to these questions.
Right. I will take it. I will come to your own question last, because you say, how exactly do we do these things that we said has to happen? Yes, I'll come back to that. But let me very quickly dismiss the one which Wemimo had asked about the Afe Babalola initiative. I can report to us now that Afe Babalola was one of those shown that proclamation of NINAS ahead of when it went to town. And most of the people he's inviting into that initiative, including Obasanjo, they were all shown what we had to table before the country as the step-by-step of how to arrest the situation is about to consume all of us. Now, we saw that communication that he had put 50 million on the table for some kind of summit to come to find out what to be done. A NINAS team has engaged him and explained to him why the difference between what he was trying to put together and what NINAS has proposed to be done. Because we put out on the 16th of December 2020 a comprehensive framework inviting the federal government to come to respond to it. And if a document that we had to advertise in Guardian newspaper, 4 whole pages, with 130 signatories, that includes a former vice president, military vice president of Nigeria, Kiwe, and the leaders of all the socio-cultural groups across the leader, the Ohanese head of the time, Modo, the one of Middle Belt Forum, the one of Cuba, and all kinds of people, including those who have become angry enough to carry arms against the state. We are the only ones, we are the last peacemakers left. We are the only ones persuading all of them, don't go to any extreme. This matter can be resolved under the roof. And so what I say is that the one that Lola is trying to put together still sidesteps the main issues that have to be. It's not how to write another constitution. You call these people together as far back. You remember in 2005 when we summoned Pronaco, the stage they are trying to get to now in that initiative was the stage we got to in 2005 when we convened Pronaco. And you recollect that we had 164 ethnic delegations. I was at the heart of it, so I can report on it. And we sat for 2 years. We sat in Lagos, we sat in Port Harcourt, we sat in Enugu, we sat in Jos, we went to Kano, and we came back to Lagos to conclude. We had in those delegations, ethnic delegations, Yoruba came as Yoruba, Ijo came as Ijo, all of the groups that were armed, Asari Dokuba and his volunteer force, the OPC and Ghanaian Dams, all of them, we persuaded them to say, look, we can resolve this matter. The British are gone. We can talk to ourselves. Muhammad Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came to that to Pronaco. Sayed Abubakar, that is Sultan now, he was in the army at the time. He was part of the Fulani delegation that came. There's nothing we're discussing now that we're not discussing in that conference at that time. And we came out with a draft that should have taken Nigeria onto the path of returning to being a federation. But this same set of people became the only ones who decided to move away from that consensus. It is that consensus that we are now enforcing. And when I say enforce, the owners of the sovereignties that have been corralled, that have been confiscated and hijacked by the central government, which is in turn now hijacked by the Fulani, are going to enforce their sovereignty. They're going to take back their sovereignty from that Nigeria that is refusing to listen to them. So my answer to the Afro-Balala bit is that what they want to do now is already more than 15 years behind, because we did it, we succeeded, and we got a draft that the people who say they own Nigeria refused to. Everybody else is in agreement that we should go back to, being a federation. That is what they call restructuring, reconstruction. Let us accept that we can't build on this foundation any further. Let's then go and do a process. Everybody knows what we want in outcome. We have put a mechanism, by how it can be done step by step from when we start to when we finish. This same set of people who are now refusing, who are defying, they are defying all of us. They are defying our sovereignty. Let's not bring it to where the people who have been shot in the middle belt, the people who have been deprived in all the places. If you go overseas to see the number of Nigerians that are trying to run away from their country, they die in the Mediterranean Sea, they end up as slaves in China, and everywhere they go. We are saying we must now accept that this country is their homeland, is where they can come to fend for themselves. You can't make it uninhabitable by seizing electricity, seizing everything that then treating them like slaves in their land. And you hope to keep it because there's a Nigeria that Lugard gave to us in 1914. That Nigeria defined by this constitution is no longer our project. Let everybody understand that. That Nigeria is no longer a project, along with all the institutions, whether it's National Assembly or National Army or NNPC or Immigration or MPA. Go and look at the top echelon of management. Look against this map and see where they came from. That's what we're talking about. They have hijacked our sovereignty, and they don't need to agree with us. They don't need to agree with us for us to take back that sovereignty. It is an inalienable right to us. We're only being civil. We're only mindful of anarchy. That's why we're bringing this kind of process to it. And I've been on it 21 years, every day and night, bringing all of those we find who are willing to reason, to say, this is how we can do it. And there's a majority involved, the whole of the South and the whole of the Middle Belt, that will not accept one more election under this constitution. And they are going to take it out against their own kinsmen who swear to defend and uphold this instrument of death that the 1999 Constitution has turned out to be. They have all the time between now and the next election. We are not, 2023 is still very far away. This matter can be finished in less than 6 months if arrogance is put out of the way. And we have on the table how it can be done. That constitutional force majeure proclamation of December 16, 2020 has everything that we need at this time to solve this problem. That is about that. The one of Ayo Adenuga, that it says he wants a section of the constitution that brings about this heavy cost of governance. The 36 states, the federation we had up to 1966 had only 4 governments. The federal government, the 4 regional governments. By the brigandage of the soldiers and the people from that section of the country that kept the soldiers in government hands for so long, we now have 36 states. To compound it, we have 774 local government areas that must be funded every month, unilaterally, imposed. And by the time you see the number of things on the exclusive list, which means that the federal government must have this large number of ministers, each of whom has a large paraphernalia of people that have to work with them, each governor, his own convoy, and all of that. It is the section 1 that defines our federation as a federation of 36 states and 704 local government areas, more than anything else, that has increased the cost of governance astronomically. Beyond that, there is also this the appropriation provisions under which you are practically unaccountable to anyone. With the what's it called? With the the one that protects them is the immunity clause in 308. So when you put all of it together, you discover that if you remove section 6, subsection 6C, the people going to government will already owe the citizens the obligation of education and healthcare and all kinds of things written in that chapter, in the chapter 2, in favor of the citizen. It is nullified by that section. So that responsibility is not there, and they have all the money to ride all the convoys they can ride. Look around your community, whether there's been another primary school built apart from the one you attended, whether there's been another healthcare center built apart from the one you left in the village 30 years ago. That is what they've been doing. It is this constitution that confiscates all the assets and puts in the hands of these few people who now carry on as if they own our sovereignty. I hope they don't learn the hard way that they do not own our sovereignty. The National Assembly was elected to make laws according to Constitution. The contention here now is that we have not made any Constitution. And let us understand this so that by the time I come to the last answer, everybody will be on the same page. We all know about companies and their memo and article. What the memo and article is to the company is what the Constitution is to the country. It is the memo that creates the company. Johnson, Jude, and James coming together to say, we now form John James Limited. That is the memo. The article is where, it's a totally different document, is where the relationships between the owners of the company that has already been created is defined. Who brings what, who takes what, how do they live, how do they come, new people come to join them, all kinds of things contained in the articles. The same way, the Constitution is in those two parts of memo and article. The memo is where we say, we the people, we the Ijo, we the Ogoni, we the Igbo, we the Ibero, have solemnly resolved to live together. That is a totally different transaction. And that is what is most urgent to be done now. The second transaction would then be having agreed in that meeting. There must be a meeting before you can agree. If there was no meeting, you couldn't say you agreed. They are alleging falsely that we agreed to submit our lands and our assets into this union to be managed according to what they now wrote as Constitution, again without reference to us. They didn't even bring it for referendum for us to say, okay, you've written the wrong thing, let us approve of it. They didn't do any of that. And so we have a situation in which the memo and articles of the enterprise Nigeria has been hijacked by the hired management, which is what the government is in all its three arms. They are just the hired management for that. The owners of that enterprise are those who could have been countries of their own, if not for Nigeria. Yoruba will be a country of its own. In the eastern part, you have a country of 70 million people. In the middle belt, you have a country of 40 million people. They will be greater in number and strength than more than half of the countries of the world in terms of size, even if they become countries of their own. But we're not saying, we're only saying, let the matter go to referendum. Let the matter go to the decision of the people. We have put a process that can bring us to where, peacefully from where we are now, even as bad as it is, that can bring us to where people are voting for what they want to do with their future. The union, the Nigeria that is erected on this falsehood of a constitution is dead and gone. We are trying to manage the successor protocols in how they can emerge in peace. But people are not going to sit and wait to be killed to the last person when they can see that people are already upon them. People have been invited to kill them and take over their lands. That's what they're facing. It doesn't matter how we paint all the other pictures. So it is in that light that I will then go to the first question of how do we do it? Let me explain to us that in the process, we had a 20-year plan. We can say all of that now so that everybody can hear it. We had a 20-year plan that was drawn up immediately. This constitution was imposed in 1999. I was involved in NADECO to an extent that I knew that NADECO had an unfinished business. The soldiers left the government house, but they managed to dump on us the constitution they made in 1979. So the immediate task was how to go to make a constitution that can sustain democracy, because you cannot have democracy or rule of law under this constitution that is anti-everything that could bring us to such. And so the plan began with a meeting of all. That was what became PRONACO. We had researched and found out things that our fathers did not know about. We actually broke into the British archives to get at the documents that predated 1914, which is what we're going to be putting out in the days ahead, to tell our people that it was a clear plan of the British with their local agents, the Sokoto Caliphate. They were together. Nobody else was told they were going to lump these strange civilizations together. But the British knew. They also knew where to end, because in the reports we have, they predicted all the things that are happening now, that when it comes to where we wake up, we're going to go before the League of Nations to assert our right to self-determination. When we discover that we have been swindled of our assets, particularly lands, these are things in black and white that predate 1914. They knew what they were doing, they knew where to end, but they were hoping somehow that they will make their profit and go their way before the house crashes on us. We must take responsibility for ourselves. Now, what do we do? That proclamation of December 16, 2020 spells out all of what the problems are from this body of knowledge that have been built up all the way from Nadeco to Pronaco through every step, because I'm sure you remember the solemn assemblies that were held first in Port Harcourt on the 27th of April in 2015, then in Ibadan on the 7th of September in 2017 at Adamasigba Stadium, then in Makurdi on the 18th of July in 2018, whereby the nationalities of these alliance blocks came together under one roof to announce to the global community that they had endured to the maximum of their limits the constitution that has been imposed on them by people from one section of the country. And so it is in having repudiated that constitution as democratically possible, as democratically done as possible, that we came down to where on the 11th of December in 2018, we came together. That was the first time the alliance was the MNN alliance. MNN was a movement for New Nigeria, was an alliance of organizations like the LNC, where I'm secretary, the other Yoruba Congress of the time, the Middle Belt Congress of the time. Eventually, these organizations were able to get their people to stand up, because it's a right to self-determination that accrues to the people. It's a people's right. And we are lucky to have a UN instrument. I have a copy here. And under this instrument, the remedy available to us is called self-determination. For those who are talking about secession, they are illiterates and ignoramuses. Self-determination is where you determine for yourself what you want in your space, as long as you are an ancestor, you are a distinct nationality in your ancestral space, which was why we had to go to Ijo, go to Ogoni. Nigeria is a project we all have to put together. The one we put together is dead and gone. The Federation of Nigeria collapsed in 1966, and something else took the carcass. The Caliphate took up the carcass and have been pretending to be that Nigeria. They call it one Nigeria. For those who do not understand the meaning of one Nigeria, it's totally different from Nigeria. Nigeria was the federation, the federal union. One Nigeria that emerged from 1967 is the Nigeria that exclusively belongs to the Fulani. If you argue with them, they kill you. And so that one Nigeria is now embodied in this constitution that we didn't make. It has seized all our assets and all our rights, and with our hands tied to the back, with all our assets seized by these same people, they have invited their brothers from all over the continent of Africa to come in and take whatever they can find. The ones we call Fulani herdsmen are the advanced teams from those countries to which this land has been partitioned. Everybody knows where they come, like the promised land. The people we call Fulani herdsmen are the ones who are here to secure their own paths ahead of the arrival of the others. And all of it is that we have to be killed in order for them to have a homeland.
Thank you very much, Tony. We'll just take a few more questions, and I want everybody to please go straight to their questions so that we can pack in as many questions as possible before we round up. Okay, we're not going to have the luxury of the time to have an extended period today. So can I please ask the following people to ask their questions one after the other or make their suggestions? Anthony Ugbebo, Ibrahim Pam, Okweyemi Ola, Balulu, I don't know if I have that name right, Balulu, okay, Femi Idowu, and then Charles Odion, in that order, please. Very, very quickly, straight to the point. Again, I'm going to ask my brother Tony to note the questions and then try to respond to each one of them. Thank you very, very much. So Anthony Ugbebo, please, and then Ibrahim Pam, then Okweyemi Ola, Balulu, Femi Idowu, and Charles Odion. Thank you very much.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Max Ubani, please mute your microphone. Max Ubani, please.
So thank you very much, Pastor Godalo and Mr. Inaji. Very educated. So what is the timeline that you believe that we should work with in terms of how to galvanize ourselves with the threat that we face? What is the timeline? Say, for example, by the end of this year or by the end of the summer or August or something, what's the timeline that people should begin to, watch for, that we should galvanize ourselves in order to say, you know what, the time is up and this is it. Thank you.
Right.
All right, so timeline very quickly. Next person, please. Ibrahim, straight to the point, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Nadi. 30 seconds. Firstly, if I may, I would want to quickly fact check you on a couple of things. One is your representation of the legitimacy of the usurpation of power by General Ironsi in January 1966. I think it's clear from the facts and the history that the military takeover of power on the 15th of January 1966 was unconstitutional and unjustified. So I would really like you to correct those facts. I wouldn't go into the question of Colonel Unegbe. I think you misrepresented that. Colonel Unegbe was actually Quartermaster General in Lagos and not in Abeokuta. But anyway, the facts about January 66, I think, should be clarified on another forum. But I'd urge you to reflect on those. Secondly, the imposition of Sharia. Let me refer to what President Obasanjo said as president. He said, to say Sharia must be removed from Islam is like saying that the 10 commandments must be removed from Christianity. Sharia is not a new thing, and it is not a thing to be afraid of. So please put that in context. This was the president of Nigeria reflecting on the imposition of Sharia. Thirdly, your map is only relevant, is only accurate during the time that President Buhari is in power. At the time President Obasanjo was in office and President Goodluck Jonathan was in office, political office in Nigeria was not overrepresented by the North. So let's be clear. This is a matter of sectionalism in the dependency of the current president. So my question to you, though, because there's a number of things, and one of the most important things I would like you to clarify, my question to you is, as you go about your legitimate aspiration to amend or to restructure the federation, which I'm totally in support of, and as you want to have the constitution reviewed, which is an absolutely legitimate aspiration, how do you build consensus around your ideas? And what is the place of moderation? Because I think in these very difficult and sensitive times, moderation is key. And I understand that the issues are very passionate, but how do you, as Barrister Tony Nnadi, who's leading a movement, how do you see the place of moderation and consensus building in what you're doing? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you. Can we have the next person, please?
I'm the next. Thank you very much. Mr. Barrister Tony Nladi. I represent Ilana Omodura. So we've been together, and I've been keeping tabs on Barrister Tony Nladi. I'll go straight to the point. Firstly, if Southern Nigeria and Middle Belt wants to flee from the Fulani oligarchy, we must destroy political correctness in our churches, in our marketplaces, and everywhere we have. Secondly, if we refuse to actually face reality, reality will eat us in the face. Thousands of people have been massacred in the Middle Belt and in the South. And some people are saying if they want to stop the killings, we must give our ancestral land. And some people are still telling us that we are overeating the polity. I think we are just not being sincere. Three, there is nowhere, anywhere in the world where theocracy and democracy can coexist. Obasanjo, Baba Obasanjo has regretted ever allowing Sharia to creep into our constitution. If the Fulani North wants Sharia, then the Yoruba customary law must also be inserted into the constitution, where we are going to rule ourselves based on how we built our empire. Then lastly, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to say tonight, I'm saying it because I have information. Those people like Mr. Tony Nladi are the last peacemakers in the South and the Middle Belt. You can call him a fundamentalist. Please, he's a peacemaker. Some people are not ready to listen to what you are discussing. People that have lost people to Fulani massacre. And they will do everything to reclaim their sovereignty. And it is because, according to Malcolm X, he said, everything necessary to get our freedom. So this issue of saying Buhari is not the problem, Mr. Pam, Buhari is not the problem. Nigeria is the problem. People should decide if they want to be part of Nigeria or not. Nigeria is not heaven sent. We can determine our destiny. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you, Okoyemi Ola. Can I have the next person, please? Balulu, I think. Okay. The next person after that, Femi Dou, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is Femi Dou Adegoke. Good evening, Pastor Ochoa. Good evening, Mr. Naji. My first question is, Mr. Naji, I've listened to you carefully. Some of us are good students of history. Some of your history were not 100% correct, but that's not the question now. My question is, assuming that all your plan framework does not work, what is the plan B? And what is the plan B? If that what you're going through is not working, what is the plan B? And the reason why I've asked that question is this. You rightly mentioned Nadeco, and Nadeco fought for this democracy that we see that we got in 1999. But because they were not prepared for politics, they didn't have a political party. So now we cannot sit and just talk, and not organize ourselves into a political party. If this framework we have does not work out, what is the next phase? What are we going to do next? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Femi. Let me just ask Charles Odion, very quickly, straight to the point. And thereafter, we'll ask Tony to now respond to these questions.
Very much, Tony. I like the passion and the way you.
Can you increase your volume, please, Charles?
Oh, can you hear me now?
A bit better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I say thank you very much, Tony. I like your passion and your detailed analysis of what has been going on. But I want to restate what Pastor Eto has said and ask a few questions as to how your program will address them. One, that the elite in the country are dishonest, and that those gatekeepers have taken us all hostage. Now, if your system works, I want to see How is he going to stop local government chairmen from taking all the money from all 774 local governments to stop buying houses in Dubai? 2, how are we going to make sure that those who run our banks and insurance companies are not richer than insurance companies and the banks that they run to the destruction of the economy? 4, how is it that it has taken us 32 years to find the exchange rate is appropriate for our own economy while everybody is decimated and lines of yam and commodities all over the country are lying to waste? And then finally, in most civilized countries, the adoption of hay markets, which you can grow grass that can be sent to the cattle where they need it, is already in place. You use that to stop the gypsies. And when El-Rufai was talking the last time, he said if they had grass, they would not come. How come nobody is talking about the hay market at all? I want to see how your NINAS will address this. I like your passion because, I mean, you have a right to ask what you want. Please answer those questions. Otherwise, our platform, which is about holding gatekeepers to account and ensuring that our elites are no longer dishonest in the banks, the insurance, and all institutions, civil service, padding us out of life, don't continue to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Can I please ask Tony to respond as quickly as he can to all those questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me start from the very last one. Charles Odion, please note that Nigeria under this constitution is a criminal enterprise. We saw, we had that bitter truth phrased differently by Pastor Paul Adefarashin about 2 weeks ago, where he said that Nigeria is a scam and a fraud under this constitution. Everything in Nigeria, those local government chairmen, 774 local government chairmen who wait every month to receive allocations, is a robbery business. You hijack people's assets, the oil and gas of Eastern Nigeria, the ports of Lagos, the proceeds of VAT and taxes. You gather everything in Abuja and share. Then everybody goes like robbers do with their loot. That's what they do. The day that sharing stops, the day people have to contribute money in form of taxes or rates in the localities to raise money to do anything, whether for their state or their region or their local government, let me see that lunatic that will let me see the accounting system they're going to put in place that will allow that council chairman to even assess the money so collected. It is because Nigeria was designed to be a criminal enterprise that all of what you have complained about, whether it's by council chairmen or bank executives and all the insurance executives, all kinds of things are happening simply because Nigeria is designed to be a criminal enterprise. That's for Charles Odion. Until we do away with this bad arrangement, and I tell you, it need not be in the context of Nigeria. People are not going to endure this madness another season. People can organize. If you look back at where Awolowo got Western region to, by the time he handed over to the next person before independence, if you look back at where Emma Okpara got Eastern Nigeria to, that it was reckoned as the fastest among the developing economies of the time, ahead of these Asian tigers. You have to check what changed. What is it that went wrong? It was the constitutional arrangements of the time that enabled all of what they did at the time. It is the constitutional arrangement of now that has imposed this culture of impunity, of robbery, of unaccountability, impunity. That's for Charles Odion. Then I come back to, yes, Anthony Ugbebo, he asked about timelines. I plead with everybody listening and all of those they can reach. Anybody who has not read that proclamation, it can be found on the website www.ninasfn.org. I repeat, www.ninasffn.org. You can also go to www.freedomfromnigeria.com. You will find all these materials, particularly that proclamation and the open memo. The proclamation spells out all of what will happen. Timeline-wise, on the 16th of December, we asked if we served a notice of 90 days. Let us work out the timelines, because those things will happen. We can continue to pretend that nothing is happening because we are not the ones doing it. I can assure us that those who are fed up with what Nigeria is meting out to them, those whose lives are endangered, who now see that there's no other way to go than to do whatever they find to do to escape the sure, annihilation that's approaching them. They are all involved. We are asking everybody to take it one step at a time. I'm sure you saw us in Ibadan the other time when Igboho came to join us halfway. We are the ones asking everybody to hold their fire. Let us go in process. We gave the federal government 90 days from the midnight of that 16th of December to come forth so that we can all be on that table. They didn't come, rather they rushed towards the National Assembly to go to make amendments to Constitution we didn't make. We didn't bother with them. On the 17th of March, 2021, that's at the expiration of those 90 days, we again came to announce a 30-day window because the demands of that proclamation were addressed to the federal government of Nigeria. So we said, in that proclamation, we said that if after all, the government refused to come along, that all of us in that alliance will work out ways to reconsider our allegiance to the Constitution to 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. That was what we wrote we were going to do. That's what it still is. That we will reconsider our allegiance to that Constitution. Anybody can put any meaning they like to it, but that's what we wrote down. That's what the international community is working with. But we said, because the people who are the elected political officers from the alliance territory were not the ones who addressed these demands, let's give 30 days to have a tete-a-tete with them, the governors, the senators. The 30 days began from the 17th of March in 2021, expiring 16th of April. On the 17th of April, again, we went forth to now engage the balance to announce a 120-day period of consultation with the society, because whatever you are going to do, let everybody be sufficiently informed of what the problems are and what the solution packages or prospects could be, so that they will make informed choices. Where in that 120 days began on the 17th of April in 2021. As I speak with you, because we said we're going to consult with the nationalities, the churches, the students' networks, the market women, all of the segments of society, such that by the time we come to the close of that 120 days, when we say we are reconsidering, whatever form it takes, when we say we reconsider our allegiance to that Constitution, everybody will now know exactly what they need to do. As I speak with you, it was part of those consultations that led to what you heard from the US, UK, and EU the other time. They specifically, each of them, between the 28th and 30th of April in 2021, the US was the first to say that these problems are extraordinary. It's not something you can solve by shouting and backing. Go talk with your people, because they had looked at that proclamation. I can report to you because there are communications going back and forth, all the way to Washington, all the way to New York, all the way across Benin, Makurdi, Port Harcourt, the people who have to decide for themselves. Now they say, go talk to your people. The next day, the UK says our partnership with Nigeria is not enough, is not adequate to address this problem in the nature it has assumed. Go talk with your people. The very next day, European Union now made it clearer. European Union says to federal government of Nigeria, please, please, put guns aside. Don't even contemplate the use of guns. The matter has gone far past where guns, not your own gun, not our own gun, will be made available to you to solve this one problem. Go into dialogue with the owners of the land so that all of you can agree on what to do. And then you make out fresh legal instruments. They actually mention legal instruments. I can report to us, they are referring to that proclamation, because the processes by which these things can be undertaken are well spelled out there. The diplomats have all studied it. The foreign governments and foreign institutions that have interest in what will happen to Nigeria and in Nigeria have all studied it. The only people not looking at it are our own people. They are busy speculating instead of looking at what is staring at them. Then we go from there to, that 120 days, of course, goes all the way to sometime, I think in August, we calculate it, 120 days. But I can assure us, for those who are asking what next, the people who are in the danger, in the clear and present danger of death, because that is what Nigeria has become for them, they are not going to wait to be killed to the last man. We saw the governor in Benue telling his people to go and get whatever they can get to defend themselves. More people are going to do such things, and it may go from security to actual access. The 68 items of the exclusive list on the Constitution is the only reason why so many things, are being restrained. You have access. The day we were in Ibadan, the governor there was lamenting that Fulani were digging gold all around his state. He was asking the National Assembly to remove solid mineral from the exclusive list so that he could go get some of the gold. We told him there in Ibadan that the constitution that sees your solid minerals is dead. It was by proclamation. It was by proclamation of one person sitting in one corner of London that Nigeria was created in 1914. It will amount to madness for anybody to think that the joint proclamation of all of those who are in this initiative will not be enough to say we are no longer in this union, because it is this constitution that is holding us down against our will in a union of death. That's what Nigeria has become. And for I go there from there to PAM that says Obasanjo said Sharia or no Sharia. I can report to us now. I dealt with Obasanjo on this matter. I attended this inauguration in 1999 on an invitation written in his long hand. There's nothing we're saying now that was not made available to him. What he did with it is what we have seen. The conference he called in 2005 was on account of the fact that we had started organizing to have a sovereign conference of the owners of Nigeria, government or no government. He then went ahead we announced Pronaco that we're going to have that conference. Then he jumped ahead of us to set up a committee headed by the then governor of Kaduna State, McCarthy, in December of 2004. McCarthy came out with his report. He then summoned a conference of, well, all of you come, let us discuss the matter. The procedures adopted were unacceptable to us, so we told Enohoro and Shoyinka, who are the arrowheads of our own process, not to attend. Of course, the conference collapsed for the exact reasons we had shared. We had told everybody that this meeting is not about inviting your friends to come to Abuja. It must be in two stages. Let those who federate go into their first meeting. Let the Ijo and the Ogoni and the Anang and the Efik decide what will be their own relationship. They will now come as a federating unit. If they want to do so with the Igbo, if they want to do so without the Urobo, let it be in those two stages. We have 36 states now. We had 4 regions before. The process of reworking things to what can hold today must be some kind of marriage between what collapsed in 66 and what we have now. But let it be the thief and the Doma and the Jukum that will be discussing how they want to relate with everybody else. He rejected that process, brought his own build from the roof kind of process. It collapsed on their head in March of 2005. We resumed our plans, and Pronaco got underway again in October of 2005. And we were more successful than all of what government had done since after 1967 in bringing the widest diversity of our people at home and abroad into a discussion of all issues, starting with the question, do you want to remain in this union? That was the first question we took at Pronaco. And by the time we finished, it was a delegate from Katsina that moved the motion on the floor of the plenary for adopting what we had as a draft of what can take us back to being a federation. We can ignore all of this, thinking that Enohoro doesn't know what he's doing anymore, thinking that Ojukwu cannot tell us where the mistakes were made. These were all the people involved in what was done. Then in 2007, we went to court to say that we did not make this constitution. And if you have plaintiffs that include Noro and Ojukwu and Shoyinka and Sisiono, Bankole, all kinds of people, the two persons who were standing trial for treason at the time, Asani Dokuba and Wazirike. It was that challenge on the legislatures of the Constitution that collapsed their treason trial. I was directly involved. Keyamo was their counsel, but I told them, if we can go to court, put your name down along with these other plaintiffs. Let Nigeria come to show us the constitution under which it is charging people for treason for resisting what Nigeria is doing in their space. I tell you, if in 2007 we were only 10 in number, we are over 100,000 right now because the killings happening in the Middle Belt. We have shown them how that constitution is directly responsible for it. The oil and gas assets of Niger Delta, we have shown them how that constitution is directly responsible for that seizure from them that now makes not only the land oil block for other people in distant places. You look at what is happening, the port there, Inters, Dango, what's his name? Atiku is you seize everybody's assets and you begin to allocate it to people. Dangote has half of the port in Lagos. Dangote is building a refinery. The refinery that you say cannot be done by states, you license an individual, you create a monopoly for him, and you are clapping that you have the richest man in Africa. Remove concessions, remove allocations, and see what is left. The Benue people have limestone that can carry them. You seize it from them and hand over to Dangote. He has the biggest cement. We are not interested in all such things. Nobody can go back to the 7th century because a few people refuse to reason with others. We are saying that our sovereignty is entirely our asset. It's not dependent on what anybody outside our space. Everything we are doing, there's nothing I've said here that has not been discussed at the UN headquarters. There's nothing I've said here that has not been discussed on the tables of decision-making around Washington. It's not by accident that they are all coming to say the same thing about the same subject. But the people that are telling are hoping that, we have guns. This matter is far past where guns can make any sense. You dare not bring any gun into. Look at this map again. This is the map of the battlefield because people from this part are killing in all these other parts. And we have shown the other people who are in this danger, whose assets have been seized. We have shown them what is available as remedy to them. And that is what they have organized themselves to do, to exercise that remedy. We recognize the Sharia that have been embraced by this other side as the exercise of their own right to self-determination. We are not quarreling with them. They have exercised their own right to self-determination. The rest of us are working out our own right to self-determination because the constitution that binds us together is a fraud that we can no longer tolerate. Whatever it will take, that constitution must go down. Let everybody listening hear it now. That if anybody is still planning to go to election in 2023 under this constitution, that person will be the #1 enemy when things snap. Whether you are from Port Harcourt, whether you are my twin brother, whether you are from wherever, if you are one of those, at the time we are making this kind of effort to take down this source of misery, this constitution, you go and gang up to help those who impose it on us to take it to another election. The caliphate knows that they've been defeated. Therefore, the true power say, oh, all of you go and fight over it. Tinubu will be candidate here, and that person will emerge from the east. You saw George Obiozo with all his exposure in life, going together to talk about Igbo presidency at a time his house is on fire. So we are shouting out to everybody, those politicians, those political parties from this alliance territory, let it be known to the people, let it be known to all of them that their offense in the eyes of the mob, because the matter will come to a mob situation. Let's not kid ourselves. The matter will come to where people will have to live or die on account of whether they are for that constitution or against that constitution. If you are one of those who have sworn to defend and uphold this constitution since 2003, let's not look at 1999. If you are one of those who have sworn to defend this constitution of death, I tell you, you already deserve any kind of punishment that is imposed on you. But let's not go back to yesterday. If you are one of those planning to take us to another election under this constitution and you are from this alliance territory, you are telling us that you are more interested in that 50 or 60 million you get as senator. You are telling us you are more interested in that 5 or 10 billion you get every month as governor, over and above the life and the livelihoods and the future of the millions of people. We're talking about 150 million people that are in distress here. So the few people, if you have elections in 2023, maybe 1,500 people will emerge. One president, 36 governors, all of the House of Assemblies, put them together, they don't come to more than 1,500. If it's because of 1,500 people that the life of 150 million people are going to be put in danger, I tell you, things are going to snap. And when they snap, those who are going to be pursuing after those who are killing them will be more interested in those politicians that are not listening to us now. We must suspend the journey to 2023. I say it again, we must right now suspend the journey to 2023. If by the close of June, if by the close of July, we have not officially suspended that journey, all of those who are doing political party, ready to take us to that election, you saw the election chairman, what's his name again, Mahmoud, announcing the date of election in 2023, at the time we're saying this constitution is killing us. He's not listening. They want to save this constitution by taking us to election. That's the last card the Fulani has to play to take us to election that will preserve this constitution. Did they not tell us that they are the only ones who can rule for all times? Why are they throwing up power now and pushing it to where Tinubu will have to go and fight with one candidate from the east? That deceit is at an end. Our anger will not be directed at Fulani or Hesman. Everything we have will be directed at that my twin brother who has gone to buy form to be that president from Igbo land. That my cousin that will be senator under this constitution. If you know what Chris Hani, if you can imagine what Chris Hani would have done to anybody in 1985 who wanted to take advantage of apartheid constitution to go and get profit, because that's what it's all about. I'm happy the host mentioned it, that it is what they get that is more important to them. We're reporting the danger that's about to consume over 150 million people. We're not concerned about those who have signed up for Sharia and whatever comes with Sharia. Can cut off your hands, that's your hand. But your right to self-determination stops in your space. Our own right to self-determination is entirely up to us to exercise in our space.
Okay, thank you very much, Uncle Tony. Thank you very much. Those are very, very strong words. And I know that everybody on this platform has heard you loud and clear. I will ask that you and I meet privately to discuss a bit further and deepen this conversation. I do think that we will invite you back to this platform again in the not too distant future. For next week, we have Group Captain Muyiwa Akinyele, retired, who is going to be talking about exploring new options. Group Captain Muyiwa Akinyele, retired, talking about exploring new options. But I'm sure we'll all want Tony back on this platform in the not too distant future. He's giving some broad strokes as to how people are thinking and all that. I think there's still a little bit of a key that he needs to twist so that we know that hopefully we would have some kind of constitutional change maybe this year or next year under which we can probably have another election before 2023. Because the video I was going to show was a video of Boris Johnson speaking about what a prime minister should do. And he mentioned a few things. And I was going to ask Tony the question, is our president doing these things? But I think the question answers itself based on what he has said thus far. Definitely we probably are not doing these things. And what it is to me is that everything that needs to be done to change the constitution must be done before the end of this year or by the middle of next year. Because I don't know what government we will put in place if we are not able to do this thing before 2023. But anyway, we can discuss that as we go along. But I want to thank everyone for coming to this platform. We're truly, truly out of time. And we will try and have another session with Mr. Nnamdi so that we can dig a bit deeper. If you people wanted to ask questions, I'm sorry, I may not be able to take those questions. You can send them to our email. And I will send them to Tony and he can respond to you directly. But we will have him back in the nearest future, we'll agree a date wherein we can all dig a bit deeper. I want to thank everyone for staying faith. We'll be back next week, Thursday, 5 o'clock, same time, with yet another speaker, Group Captain Muiwa Akinyele, who has also been in the trenches for a while and is going to be giving us his own perspectives. Let me repeat that what we want really on this platform are solutions, ideas, what to do going forward. I think we've spoken black and blue about what the problems are. We all know what the problems are. I want step-by-step solutions as to what we all can do to bring about this much-needed change from different perspectives in this great country, Nigeria. Once again, thank you all very much. God bless you. For our Muslim brothers, Baraka de Eid or Baraka de Salah, I do pray that all will go well. And for the rest of us, please, let's have a very good weekend and then see you same time next week. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Tony Nnamdi, great man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Even though you insulted me because I asked for Plan B, I'm okay with you. But
Plan B is not discussing.
Patience. Be patient to people.
Thank you all very much. God bless you. Thank you.
To be no Plan B. I say, let's change Nigeria so that you'll be having life towards the end.
Maybe to be power.
That's part of what we're trying to do.
The likes of Bashir cannot even attend presidency if the current situation continues. We need a new Nigeria, not a 21 Nigeria.
I can have my own.
We need a new Nigeria.
Yes, we do need
New Nigeria. We will get a new Nigeria. Iseko, I think I see you in the background there somewhere. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you didn't mind what I said.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, I love you very much. I know you are very passionate.
Assurance belongs to the people, not to the people there.
I know. It's okay. I love you, Uncle.
Very great, very great, very civilized.
Tony, well done.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. It was very insightful.
Mr. Tony, please. Mr. Tony.
Tony, well done.
Betty, thank you. I enjoyed your comments on the platform.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Florian, God bless you. Florian. Tim, thank you for your lovely questions as always. Philip, thank you very much. Dafe Andrew, God bless you. Thank you.
Pastor Itua.
Yes. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Princess.
Hey, Princess the Great. She has abandoned me. Tell her she abandoned me, but I still love her.
I will tell her. I was with her on Mother's Day.
Okay, thank you. Umi, God bless you.